did the work here. Obviously, you cooked all this food. And these guys are getting ready to get all the choice pieces and leave the crumbs to you. I said, that's crap. That's pure exploitation.
What's up, producer fam? This your man BeatsbyLonza coming to you with a new vid today. I was asked to do a video about the ISLA Instruments S2400. Now, I don't get paid by any of these companies to talk about their gear. I talk about the gear that I like to use, that I use in my studio on a daily basis. So, quick background on me: I've been producing about 20 years, and at first I was just producing strictly in software and computers, and then a couple years back, probably about 6-7 years ago, I went to a hybrid studio to now where I started to incorporate hardware equipment. So I came in the game a little bit late on hardware equipment as far as producing. I started out with the Maschine Native Instruments brand, and then I just kept hearing about MPC, and then I decided that, okay, let me jump on the MPC joints just to see what would I like it, and eventually I enjoyed MPC, so I started getting a lot of the newer MPCs. Also tried out the 2000 XL on the MPC, for the old hardware, and I just couldn't get into it. It was too slow. I was used to the new, the Live 1, the Live 2, the MPC X. I was into that workflow and that speed and being able to hook into the internet and blah 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 to come into this century. So yeah, I couldn't deal with the old equipment, and I needed something that I could always upgrade or keep up to date. So that's that. So today we ain't talking about Akai, we're not talking about Native Instruments. We're strictly here to talk about ISLA Instruments S2400. Now, I never touched the SP1200 ever. However, I've always had my eyes on it. But if you looked at the prices of the SP1200 right now, prices are crazy through the roof, and I wouldn't pay $14,000 for a piece of equipment. Unless I was just a millionaire that just had money to throw away, and I just, wanted to do that. Unfortunately, I'm not that, so my money that I make has to make sense, and the money that I spend has to make sense on sensibility. So, but anyway, SP1200, it is not a clone. It is its own piece of hardware equipment. And it's thrown a shout out to the OG as a baseline. We want to make my thought process towards it was that they wanted to make a piece of equipment similar to the SP1200, but with some up-to-date pieces of hardware in it, software in it, so that they can continue to modify and update and upgrade as they saw fit. And I want to give a shout out to Brad, Mickey, and Vlad, and all the team over there at ISLA, because they did that thing with this piece of equipment. I just came across it by accident, and it was in the stages of it's going into production. If you pre-order, you get it at this particular price, which I'm glad I did, because the price now has more than doubled and tripled if you try to go get one online right now. And I would tell you, my word of advice before I start this video is, if you are to buy this piece of equipment, I would recommend that you buy it from ISLA Instruments straight up, so that you know that you got a piece of equipment that came straight from the manufacturer, that nobody else has touched, nobody else has played with, nobody has done anything to. I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy used equipment, but for especially some of these ones out there that are triple in price, you don't know what they've done to that equipment, and I wouldn't pay that for any equipment, especially when they're still in production and making, products that's good quality. So in this video, should you buy an SP24, not an SP, sorry, an S2400 from Island Instruments? All right, so let me tell you my pros about it, and then I'll tell you should you buy this piece of equipment. Let me tell you my pros about it. When I did my list of pros and I did my list of cons, let me tell you, the pros really outweighed the cons. Now, I won't tell you how many pros I came up with, but the list was way longer than the cons. I came up with one con that I can find on this piece of equipment. I ain't, excuse me, not dick riding.
He needs some milk.
I'm not riding the company just because, of who the people are. I don't know any of them personally. Like I said, I jumped into this completely blind. But I trusted in the people that was working on this equipment, their backgrounds, where they previously worked, what they've done, and I trusted that they were going to come up with the premier piece of equipment that was going to blow the rest of them out of the water. And let me tell you, the Island Instruments S2400 has blown them out of the water. So my pros, here we go. The size of this piece of equipment fits my studio space perfectly. This piece of equipment is 18 inches wide, 5 inches in height, 12 inches in depth, and comes in at a whopping 13 pounds. And let me tell you, this piece of equipment right here is built like a tank. Like, out of all the equipment in my studio, I think this would probably be the one that if it just by happened to drop off the desk, it probably could survive a fall if it dropped off of the desk at the height that my desk is right now. So I think that the build is solid, and like I said, it's built like a tank. Love it, love the size. Again, it doesn't take up too much of the real estate on my desk, but it's big enough to make that statement that I'm here. If you look at the size of the S2400 against the Maschine Studio, which is right beside it, they're about the same size, but it just speaks to saying, oh, I got some shit in my studio. And if you look at the MPC X that's next to it, man, it tells you're about your business in the studio. So I love the size of it. If you have limited space in your studio, you may consider like getting, if I can get it in the camera, you see right here, I got the push right here, the push 2. It's in a rack stand, a stage stand. So if you're running out of limited space, you may want to look into getting yourself a stand, and then you have a way to house your other equipment. So let's talk about performance, man. It's a new piece of equipment, and for that, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. And the reason that I say that is because being that it's a new piece of equipment, and it's a new brand, again, like I said, I trusted Brad and his team, Mickey and Vlad, that they had the technical expertise to make this thing work like it's supposed to. So when you cut this piece of equipment on, you expect it to work every time you cut it on. And I have no problems with that when I cut the piece of equipment on and I get to work. I'm immediately able to get to work, and you can recall some of the previous functions that you may have pulled up in the last project. So that's cool too. Like maybe you didn't get to finish the last project and you want to come back in and finish it. You can allow it to do that. The performance is out of this world. Like I said, the sound coming up out of that mug is 10 out of 10. Can't beat the sound coming out of the 2400. Love it. Performance, again, like right now you can go to the forum that Island Instruments have, and you can look at any issues, any bugs that may have, that other people are reporting, and you can get to an issue that you may have in your machine. But I will tell you that the time that I've had this machine, any bugs that I've ran across have all been user error. It's all been because of something that I didn't understand, or something that I hit by accident, and then I had to, figure out how to get it to perform the way that I envision it to be performed. So again, I talked about the forums and product support. They're very vocal about staying in the loop and keeping you in the loop. The company, let me tell you something. I have never seen a company, and it may be because they're a small company, but it just speaks to the type of people that they are over at ISLA Instruments. During the pandemic, they took the time to keep you updated about the shipping of the product, because during the pandemic, it caused a lot of issues with transportation and supply lines, especially out there in the ocean and then across seas. So just during the pandemic, keeping people communicating with the people, telling them what's going on, they didn't have to do that. And that's what you expect out of a product when you're a customer and it's a new product and it's a new company. So shout out to Brad and team for that, because people don't do that. Companies don't do that. And I love that about the company. And it really made me very secure in my purchase. It made me very, very secure in my purchase, that I wasn't worried about my product, and I knew my product was going to come and it was going to be what I think it is today. So yeah. So again, like I said, 10 out of 10 for the product support. 10 out of 10. You can go to the forum at any time, report a bug or issue, and immediately somebody's going to jump in within 24 hours at least, and they're going to say, hey, this is what I think your issue is. Or other producers can jump in and say, hey, I ran into that problem, this is how I fixed it, and then you're off to the races again. So again, for the community, this is a great piece of equipment for the community. The forum, the website is for the community. So 10 out of 10 as a pro. Price point, love the price point. When I got mine, it's not the price that it is now, because I got it at a pre-production price. And so I was very lucky to get it at the pre-production price. So the price point, even to today's price point, I still would recommend that you get this piece of equipment at the price point that it is. It's affordable. It was the first time that I used a payment plan on a piece of equipment, and so I pushed it out 12 months, and I paid monthly. And before the equipment got ready to ship, I had already paid my equipment off, and so it was like perfect timing. I paid my equipment off, then my equipment shipped. I got my equipment in hand, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. So I used the company called The Firm, which they show you on the website that you could use that way to purchase your equipment. So A Firm, shout out to A Firm, man. Y'all doing your thing. So let's talk about user ability. You're able to MIDI connect. You're able to use the ins and outs. You also have SD card. It's also USB compatible to be able to use with your computer and your DAW. You connect it to your computer through USB, and you can export your project out to your DAW, and you can do your outside post editing and mixing outside of the DAW. So that is also pretty cool, and one of the things that I like about the S2400. Being a newcomer to the equipment, I also like the fact that they had a video manual of how to work the machine. So I spent hours on YouTube watching the how-to videos before the product even came, so that by the time it did come, I can kind of have some familiarity of the product. That does not say that you didn't or don't have to put your hands on equipment. You have to put your hands on the equipment and spend time in the equipment. But the ease of it ease of it is very easy to use, and it's common sense. Like if you're thinking through how you're gonna do the next thing, and you're thinking, what button would I press to do this next thing that I think that I'm trying to do? I could pretty much press and say, okay, I want to change my tempo. So, I can immediately see tempo as a button, and then it says tap tempo. I can tap the button to tap my tempo in. So, the ease of that, just be able to visually see that right here on the piece of equipment was great for me, and 10 out of 10, bro. Again, like I said, the video manual was a chef's kiss to the performance of this piece of equipment. So the only con that I have for this piece of equipment is that I wish personally that the visual screen here, it's about that big, probably about 2 inches maybe. I wish that the screen was a little bit bigger, and that I was able to hook up a monitor to view the screen on a bigger monitor. That's the only con that I have, but that's just a personal preference to me. It's not a con to the machine. It's a personal preference. So if I had to have a con, that would be the con that I have on this machine. Other than that, should you buy this equipment? You should buy this equipment. And I don't work for the company. I don't get no kickbacks from the company, from any company, for reviewing this piece of equipment. This personally, I think that you should have this equipment. If you're a producer and you are into hardware and you like making shit happen on hardware, this is a piece of equipment you should have in your arsenal in your studio. So if you're an SP1200 fan, you should have this piece of equipment in your studio. The product is the next best thing. So comparing it apple to apple, this product wins. It's up to date, 2023. It's ready for you to get started. All you gotta do is press the button and cut it on, and you're ready to rock. Now, I will tell you, you will have to load your sounds to your SD card. Or if you connect it to your computer, you can bring your sounds in from your computer where you may have all your samples at. So that just makes it even better. But ISLA Instruments gave homage to the SP1200, and they decided to come up with something that says that this is not an SP1200, but we want to make a product that is similar, that can re-emphasize some of the old school sounds that they used to have back in the day, back in the 90s. Back in the 80s, back in the 90s, but bring it up to date, but put a little bit of a swing on it. So with that being said, you should get the S2400 by ISLA Instruments. So if you have any questions, leave a comment down in the comment section. I'll get back with you to the best of my ability. Again, like I tell a lot of people, everything you need to know can be found on YouTube, could be found on a Google search. So there's no reason why there should not be an I don't know how, or I can't get an answer for you scenario when you're looking up equipment. So again, adding to the S2400 out there, pros and cons to the videos out there. This is my pros and cons video for it. You should get this piece of equipment. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel. BeatsbyLonza, we out of here.